Well, welcome to the Great Pyramid AIP channel. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. So we're looking at some symbols in Giza that help interpret these mighty monuments that are here. So you can see we've got two sets of parallel lines here. On the left is the top view of the Great Pyramid, and those two lines are the center line, the north-south center line in red, and then the blue line, that's the line that the internal passages follow. Now on the right we have lines that run through the trial passages. I've done other programs about the trial passages. I think those are a main key to interpreting the Great Pyramid. And so those two lines are made up by, first of all, the actual passages in the black, and yet the green is the trench that runs right to the west of that line, and it goes to the center of the three satellite pyramids. So basically, if you move the Great Pyramid over, those two lines in the trial passages line up with the two lines in the Great Pyramid. So that's one of the many reasons that I think that the trial passages are giving us a key about the meaning of the Great Pyramid. There's the trial passages in the trench. Now, the last time I was in Giza, I led a tour in September, and please go on our tours with us. And so I was out in the early morning while everybody was probably still in their hotel room sleeping, but I got out to the Giza Plateau early, and I found these 5 pointing marks. And we're going to talk about those today, these special pointing marks. Now, John Romer has shown that on the east side of the Great Pyramid, they laid a blueprint for the pyramid to keep it in check as they were going up, so you didn't have it turn into a corkscrew. And he shows actually they had both a regular print, a blueprint, and then an offset blueprint. And you can see that to the right there. That's all based on holes that Romer found on the east side of the pyramid, these regular sets of holes. And so there's another view. So there's the Great Pyramid, and to the field to the east, there's this life-size plan for how to build the Great Pyramid. John Romer is the one that showed us about that. Now, he found these holes just like this, systematically laid out along the east side of the Great Pyramid. All right, so with that idea in mind, that there was a blueprint to lay out the Great Pyramid, I found these 5 markings in that area on the east side of the Great Pyramid. So here I am, and so you can see they look like sort of, treads from a tractor or something that were left, but they seem to be part of the original plateau there. You can see the trial passages behind me there near where the horses are. And so there are these 5 marks that are lined up here, and I thought to myself, those look like they point somewhere. And so I did some study of those, and that's what I'm going to show you some of the quick results of here. I'm still kind of going over what I found here, but one thing I'd say about these markings, they're not pinpoint precise. They're obviously kind of a gross marker, but they do point in a definite direction much more than you think, because they look kind of sloppy. But when you actually lay down a compass in there, they do point in one sort of specific direction. So the commentary that they give, the way I look at it, since it's not a perfectly pinpoint line, it's pointing to an area. It's making a commentary on the Great Pyramid. So here's the top view of the pyramid. Now this is interesting to me. There are 4 holes across the trial passages, and here they are right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so if those are right through the trial passages, you can see that if you take an east-west line directly through them, so those 5 holes define a very definite line. That line is aligned with the grotto. You can see the top view of the passages. You can see the ascending passage, the grand gallery there, and then offset from the grand gallery is the well shaft, and that bump in the well shaft there, that bigger area where the arrow's pointing, is the grotto. This says to me that the trial passages are pointing out, look, there's a lot of things, guys, in the Great Pyramid, there's all these different things, but this is important. So it's saying the grotto is not an afterthought. The grotto is not some, factory part of the Great Pyramid. I've read these, the grotto is probably one of the least understood parts of the pyramid. The trial passages are telling us that the grotto is an important part of the construction because they're pointing specifically to it. This drawing I took from Dr. Mark Lehner. Now, where are the 5 markings I'm talking about in relationship to the trial passages? They're right there. So they roughly follow the front face line, the western line of the 3 satellite pyramids there, and to the north of that point. So that's where they are. Now, just to cut to the chase, here we are. So I drew lines from those markings that I showed you, and then I superimposed what the passage system would look like from the top of the Great Pyramid, and it's remarkable. You've got one of the markings pointing to the beginning of the Grand Gallery. You've got one pointing to the step, the Great Step, basically the end of the Grand Gallery. Another one points to the antechamber, and the other points to the end of the King's Chamber. So what this is saying to me is this. Again, these weren't pinpoint markings that were like two, lines in a row where you're saying, here's a very definite mark. These are kind of pointing out here because they're, they could be slightly off one way or the other. They're saying these are important. Sometimes people say the Grand Gallery, that's an industrial part of the, the construction because it, it doesn't have any hieroglyphics in it and it doesn't have any beauty and stuff. These pointers are saying, just as we saw that Romer found very functional marks on this east side of the Great Pyramid that were just like surveyor's marks. And so with those, they're saying every part of the pyramid is important because you've got to get each block in line to have it go up so it doesn't become a corkscrew. But the markings I showed you are now like a commentary on the other blueprint as a whole and saying these are important. So again, these are not an afterthought. These are not an industrial part of the Great Pyramid. The Grand Gallery, the antechamber, the King's Chamber, these are the key points. And off to the right there, that line with the final of the 5 marks, which goes kind of north and south, that's the line that it makes. And it goes through the Sphinx and then to the Fibonacci origin. So I've done some work on the Fibonacci origin. So basically, that line right there goes through those 5 markings. It cuts right through the Sphinx and through the Fibonacci origin. And so there you can see a top view. There's that line. It goes through the middle of the Sphinx. And I first thought, oh, look, it's pointing to the Sphinx. Usually when something points to the Sphinx, it points to the head, maybe the paws. But this was going right through the middle. I thought, well, that, okay, that's pointing at the Sphinx. But then I realized, yeah, keep going through the Sphinx, and it goes to where the Fibonacci origin is. So here's Rocky McCollum's picture of the Fibonacci spiral that goes through the 3 pyramids in Giza. Now, there's only one line that can go through the middle of those 3 pyramids. And it happens to be this golden spiral. And I've been to the origin point. It's really kind of mystic. Come on tour with me sometime. This is a little understood part, little known, probably almost nobody knows about it. You'd be one of the few if you go with me. And so that pointer of the 5 pointers is saying this is important because it goes through the Sphinx and to the Fibonacci origin here. Kind of interesting side note here. So if you take the point right through the Sphinx, the north-south line through the Sphinx, and take where it begins and ends on the Fibonacci spiral, and then take the east-west through the Sphinx to the 2 sides of the Fibonacci spiral, it forms this golden cross. And if you take the length of it divided by the width, it equals the 5 proportion. Very interesting. Okay, so this should be coming any day now. At the end of October, sources at the Ministry of Antiquities revealed that the Minister of Antiquities, Khalid El-Anani, good man, will announce a new discovery in the area of the pyramids. And so I thought to myself, well, it's not going to be anything like Robert Grant, he and Alan Green found that in DaVinci's Vitruvian Man, the Great Pyramid is revealed. It's absolutely unbelievable. I just showed you one part of it here, that from his navel out to his outstretched arm, that's the exact slope angle of the Great Pyramid. There's much more there. But it's not going to be that because those guys don't believe you can, Egyptologists don't believe you can do stuff like that. And it's not going to be the holes that I talked about because, again, Egyptologists, they think John Romer's a little bit off. They don't interpret much of those, so that's not going to be their new discovery. So what will be the discovery announced by the Ministry of Antiquities? Well, I just happened to know yesterday, today is November 14th, so yesterday, November 13th, 2019, through an inside contact I know that Scan Pyramids team, which has been quiet for a while, they put out the void that's there above the Grand Gallery, and then, that went all around the world, and everybody knows about it, and they've been kind of quiet. People have been looking for them to announce more, but they haven't. I got word yesterday, November 13th, that they are in the relieving chambers above the King's Chamber trying to get entrance into that void. Now, I don't know how far, usually if the Egyptian government's letting them up in those relieving chambers, because they don't let, after those Germans, supposedly stole some of the red ochre paint, that's been like a closed door. So if they're letting the people from the scan pyramids up there, they may be finally letting some little drill hole or something go in toward where the scan is. Now, I don't think this is going to be it, because it says in the area of the pyramids, and this would be right at the Great Pyramid. But they must be close to finding something if the scan pyramids team, that Japanese group, is up in the relieving chambers above the Great Pyramid. And by the way, the place where that void is shown there, when I was with the former Minister of Antiquities, Dr. El-Damadi, at his office at the university where he teaches there in Cairo, he showed me, he was trying to get it on his computer and he couldn't, so he picked up his phone and he showed me the picture of where the void was, and it's not where this one shows. This, if you go on the internet, most of the pictures you're going to get are going to look like this, but actually the void that he showed me was actually closer to the top, the roof of the King's Chamber relieving chambers there. So interesting that they seem to be on the verge of getting into that void. By the way, a friend of mine kind of had a vision about that void and thinks that can be something big. We'll see. All right, so come tour with us. If you go to our website, greatpyramid.org, we've got the Adventurers Tour coming up. You know, you can see go to the origin of the Fibonacci spiral with me. Take a look at my book. You can get this on Kindle, on Amazon, the Orion Correlation Theory Extended. This was my last adventure. It would have been fun for you to be on that. We traced down not just the belt stars that Robert Pahl talks about, but all the stars of Orion, where they land on Egyptian soil. It makes an interesting study. Grab hold of it. I'll put links in the description for these different things. Hey, keep following this channel. Things are happening. Things are popping at the Great Pyramid. Thanks for watching.